Hey guys, I hope you're having an amazing day. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Depends on when you're watching this video, right? So, I'm going to be teaching you guys the ninth lesson from our textbooks. The lesson name is An Unexpected Guest, right? So, this story is full of adventure and it's a fictional story. Do you know what a fictional story is? Yes, it is a story that is made up. That means it didn't happen in real life, right? So the author of the story is Gerald Durrell, right? Listen to the name again, Gerald Durrell. Yes, he is the author of the story. Now, I want you all to follow 3 simple rules in this video, okay? Number 1, get your finger ready to follow where I'm reading in the story, okay? I want your finger ready to follow where I'm reading. Now, rule 2, every word that you do not understand, I want you to underline that word. If it's hard for you to pronounce or you do not know what the meaning of the word, I want you to underline that word. Good? Okay. Now, rule number 3. Right? I want you to imagine the story. I don't want you to just listen. No, I want you to imagine the story. The characters have to come alive in your brain. Okay? So, let's do the reading part and answer a few questions before we go into the story, okay? Have you ever looked at a garden wall and found a completely different world there? Have you? Have you ever looked at the wall really close to find small creatures, little bugs, little worms, right? The moss. Have you ever? You have. I'm glad. It's interesting, isn't it? Now, let's read the story of a young boy and his adventures with the creatures who live on such a wall. Right? So the story is about a young boy and his adventures with the creatures he found on such a wall. Right? So already, before we even go into the story, we know the main character of the story is who? A young boy. Yes. Now, let's start reading. Get your fingers ready and follow where I'm reading. The crumbling wall that surrounded the sunken garden alongside the house was a rich hunting ground for me. The shyest of the wall creatures were the most dangerous. You hardly ever saw one unless you looked for it. And yet, there must have been several hundred living in the cracks of the wall. Slide a knife blade carefully under a piece of loose plaster and move it gently away from the brick. And there, crouching beneath it, would be a little black scorpion, an inch long, looking as though he was made of polished chocolate. They were weird looking things, with their flattened oval bodies, their neat crooked legs, and their enormous crab-like claws, bulbous and neatly jointed as armor, and the tail like a string of brown beads ending in a sting, like a rose thorn. The scorpion would lie there quietly as you examined him, only raising his tail in an almost apologetic sign of warning. If you breathe too hard on him, if you keep him in the sun too long, he would simply turn his back on you and walk away to another section of the plaster. I grew very fond of these scorpions. I found them to be pleasant, quiet creatures with the most charming habits, provided you did nothing silly or clumsy, like putting your hand on one. They treated you with respect, their one desire being to get away and hide as quickly as possible. By crouching under the wall at night with a torch, I managed to catch brief glimpses of their wonderful courtship dances. They stood and waltzed slowly in circles among the moss cushions, claw in claw. Right? So, what did we learn so far in the story? We know that the little boy found out that there were scorpions, quiet but deadly creatures, living in the wall in the garden. If he moved a piece of the plaster, he would see them. But he also learned that if you breathe too hard on them or if you leave them in the sunlight for a bit too long, they would go hide on under another piece of plaster, right? They wouldn't attack you unless you did something silly or clumsy. Like if you try to touch one of them, obviously they'll sting you, right? But then he also described how the scorpions look. What were the things he described? He described their claws, they look like crabs. He described their body being strong and polished like armor. And then he described their tail, like beads, brown beads with a stinger at the end. I'm gonna put a picture right here for you to see what a scorpion looks like in real life. Right, okay, so let's continue with the story. Fingers up. The family had not allowed scorpions in the house. Then one day, I found a fat female scorpion in the wall, wearing what at first glance appeared to be a pale fawn fur coat. Looking closely, I saw that this strange garment was made up of a mass of tiny babies clinging to the mother's back. I was delighted by this family and made up my mind to smuggle them to my bedroom so that I might keep them and watch them grow up. With great care, I placed the mother and her family into a matchbox and hurried to the villa. So what did the boy do? One day he went and he found in the wall there was a fat female scorpion. Right. At first, he thought she was wearing some fancy dress, looking all pretty. But when he saw closer, what did he find? He found that there were all these tiny baby scorpions on the mother's back. Right? You know how we like to cling to our mothers and hug them all the time? The baby scorpions were clinging to the mother's back. Right? So he was so excited. He's never seen something like that before. So what did he do? Does anyone remember? Yes, he took all those scorpions and put them in a matchbox. This is a matchbox, right? What's usually in a matchbox? Matches. But he took the matchbox and he put the scorpion in the matchbox, right? So, why did he put it in the matchbox? Because he knows that in his house, they won't allow him to bring a scorpion in. That's why he was trying to hide it and smuggle it into the house. Right? Let's continue. It was rather unfortunate that just as I entered the door, lunch should be served. I placed the matchbox carefully on the mantelpiece in the drawing room so that the scorpions could get plenty of air, and made my way to the dining room and joined the family for the meal. Dawdling over my food quietly, feeding Roger under the table, and listening to the family arguing, I completely forgot about my existing new captors. At one point, Larry, having finished eating, walked to the mantelpiece and picked up the matchbox. Right? Without any idea of my impending doom, I watched him interestedly. As still talking, he opened the matchbox. Oh no. What happened? Larry opened the matchbox. He didn't know there were scorpions in there. And the little boy, he completely forgot that he put the scorpions in a matchbox on the mantelpiece. Do you know what a mantelpiece is? Right. Let me show you a picture of a mantelpiece right here. It is a shelf above a fireplace. So he put the matchbox with the scorpions on top of the mantelpiece and started enjoying his lunch. Right. But then Larry finished his lunch and went and got the matchbox. He didn't know there were scorpions in there. Right. And the little boy completely forgot he put scorpions in there. So without realizing what horrible things were going to happen, he was just watching at Larry. Now, aren't you curious what's happened after he opened the matchbox with scorpions inside? I am too. Let's continue. Fingers at the ready. Now, I maintain to this day that the female scorpion meant no harm. She was nervous and a little annoyed at being shut up in a matchbox for so long. And so she took the first opportunity to escape. She got out of the box with great rapidity, her babies clinging on desperately, and scuttled to the back of Larry's hand. There, not quite certain what to do next, she paused, a sting curved up at the ready. Larry, feeling some movement of her claws, glanced down to see what it was. From that moment on, things got very confusing. He roared, uttered a roar of fright that made Lucrezia drop a plate and brought Roger. Who is Roger? The dog. He brought Roger out from underneath the table, barking wildly. With a flick of his hand, he sent the scorpion flying down the table. She landed midway between Margot and Leslie, scattering babies like confetti. As she thumped on the cloth, thoroughly enraged at this treatment, the creature sped towards Leslie, her sting quivering. Leslie leapt to his feet, overturning his chair, and flicked out desperately with his napkin, sending the scorpion rolling across the cloth towards Margot, who let out a scream that any railway engine would have been proud to produce. Ah! Right? Mother, surprised by this sudden change from peace to utter confusion, she put on her glasses. And looked down at the table to see what was the cause. Right? So let's see what happened till now. Right? Larry opened the box. The mother scorpion got on his hand. Why, if you were stuck in a box for a long time, wouldn't you be annoyed? Yeah. So she's like, I'm not staying in this box no more. I'm gonna get out. So she got out of the box and got onto Larry's hand. Larry, he felt her claws on his hand. So he looked down, and you would be scared of a scorpion too, wouldn't you, if it was on your hand? So he flung it, right? And the moment he flung the scorpion, she was flying and her babies flew off her back like confetti. She landed on that table, right? When it landed on the table, Lorenzia, she dropped the plate. Roger the dog started barking, woof, 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 right? So now, it fell in front of Leslie. Leslie got scared, so he took the napkin, he flung the scorpion away, and he got off his chair, and his chair overturned. Right. Then it landed between, who did it landed between? It landed between Margot. Margot got so afraid, she started to scream, ah! So loud that you know how railway engines always have that loud sound for their horns? So even they would be proud of how loud Margot screamed. Right? And now the mother's very confused, right? Wouldn't you be confused? One moment you're peacefully eating lunch and the next moment all your kids are screaming, right? So she's like, oh, wait, where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? She picks up her glasses, she puts it on, and it's all dirty, so you shouldn't look at it. Like, what's going on? What is happening? Right when she put on her glasses, right? Margot tried to stop the scorpion in front of her and threw a glass of water. Oh wait, I didn't read that part yet. So let's read that part and see what happens from there. Right? At that moment, Margot, in a vain attempt to stop the scorpion, hurled a glass of water at it. The shower missed the animal completely, but successfully soaked Mother, who, not being able to stand the cold water, lost her breath, sat gasping at the end of the table, unable to protest. Right. So, what happened right now? So Margot screamed and she got so afraid, she took a glass of water and she tried to pour it on the scorpion. Right? But instead of falling on the scorpion, it fell on her mother. And her mother was like so shocked and unable to handle the cold water. She was at the end of the table, like, she was gasping. Right? What happened after that? Now, let's put our fingers up. The scorpion had gone to ground under Leslie's plate, while her baby swarmed wildly all over the table. Roger, also puzzled by the panic, but determined to do his share, ran round and round the room, barking wildly. Look out, they're coming, screamed Margot. All we need is a book, roared Leslie. Don't panic, hit him with a book. Right. So what's happening right now? Margot poured water on her mother. Right. Now the scorpion hid under Leslie's plate. The mother scorpion hid under Leslie's plate, but all the babies, they don't know what to do. They're just walking around the table, la 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 la. Right. So now everyone is panicking. And here Roger, the poor dog, doesn't know what's going on. So what is he doing? He's like, I'm also gonna help. So he's running around the room, with the dining room, shouting, woof, 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 woof. Right? So everything is a mess. Then Margot started screaming, look out, they're coming. Right? What is she screaming at? The baby scorpions were walking towards all of them. Then Leslie is like, all we need is a book. So his idea was, let's take a book. I'll take your textbook. Let's take a book and hit him. Right? All we need to do is take a book and hit him. Right? But then the mother is like, what on earth's the matter with you all? Mother kept asking, mopping her glasses. It's that boy. He'll kill a lot of us. Look at the table, knee deep in scorpions. Stop screeching and get a book. For God's sake, shut up, Roger. By the grace of God, I wasn't bitten. Right, so we're having a conversation right now. Who's talking? So the mother is asking all of them, what is the matter with all of you? Right, she can't see. So because her daughter Margot threw water all on her, so she's like wiping her glasses, like, what is going on? Then Larry shouted, it's that boy. He'll kill a lot of us. Look at that table, knee deep in scorpions. So they know that the little boy is the one who brought the scorpions. Probably because he's done stuff like this before. Right? Then Leslie's like, stop screeching and get a book for God's sake. Shut up, Roger. So this is whole mess. Roger's barking. They're losing their mind. So he's like, stop screeching. Stop shouting. Shut up, Roger. They're telling the dog to shut up. Right. Then Larry's like, by the grace of God, I wasn't bitten. Right. So he's like, see, I would have been bitten. If it wasn't for God, I would have been dead right now. Right. So then they scream, look out, there's another one, quick. But how did the scorpions get on the table, dear? Asked the mother. That boy, every matchbox in the house is a death trap. Look out, it's coming towards me. Quick, do something. Hit it with your knife. Go on, hit it. Right. So what's happening right now is they're all in a panic. The mother's like, how did the scorpions even get on the table? Then they're like, it's that little boy. Every matchbox in the house is like a death trap. We don't know what is in it. Right. And then the sister's like, no, they're coming to me. And the brothers are like, hit it with the knife. Hit the scorpion with your knife. So it's like a whole war zone, the scorpions versus the humans. Right. But right now, it's so full of confusion. And they're all blaming the little boy. Right? The scorpions are confused. The humans are confused. We don't know what's going on. Right? Okay, fingers ready. Let's continue to read. Since no one had bothered to explain things to him, Roger was under the mistaken impression that the family was being attacked and that it was his duty to defend them. As Lucrezia was the only stranger in the room, he came to the conclusion that she must be the responsible party. So he bit her in the ankle. This did not help matters much. By the time order returned, all the baby scorpions had hidden themselves under various plates and bits of cutlery. After many pleas on my part, backed up by mother, Leslie's suggestion that the whole lot be slaughtered was rejected. While the family, still shaking, went to the drawing room, I spent half an hour rounding up the babies, picking them up in a teaspoon and returning them to their mother's back. Then I carried them outside on a saucer and very unwillingly released them on the garden wall. Right. So what happened now? So this whole chaos is happening, and now the dog, Roger, is like, he doesn't know what's happening. No one told him there are scorpions on the table, and he's too short, so he can't see what's on the table. So he's like, my family is being attacked. I must save them, right? So he thinks his family is being attacked. So everyone there, he knows. Lorenzia, he doesn't know. So he thinks, okay, she's new. They're all being attacked. She must be attacking them. So what did he do? He ran and he bit her ankle. Oh, that did not help much. That made everything more chaotic. Scorpions on the table, the sister screaming, water being thrown on the mother, the dog barking and then biting the ankle. It's chaotic. By the time everything became peaceful, calm, relaxing again, Leslie was like, kill them. We must slaughter all of them. We must kill all of the scorpions. But the little boy was like, no, don't kill the scorpions. And the mother agreed with the little boy. So instead of killing the scorpions, he had to pick up every baby with a teaspoon and put it on the mother's back. All the family were in the drawing room relaxing. So he took the mother with the baby scorpions on her back on a saucer and went back to the wall. Right? Let's follow the rest. We're almost done with the story, guys. Right. So now, the result of this incident were many. Larry developed a phobia about matchboxes and opened them with great caution. A handkerchief was wrapped around his hand. Lucrezia limped around the house, her ankle covered in yards of bandage for weeks after the bite had healed, and every morning showed us how the scabs were doing. But from my point of view, the worst fallout of the whole affair was that mother decided I was running wild again, and it was high time I received a little more education. Right. So, after all of this happened in the house, Larry, the one who opened the matchbox, got a phobia. Do you know what a phobia is, guys? Anyone can tell me what is a phobia? A phobia is a strong, unreasonable fear. A strong, unreasonable fear. So he got a phobia about matchboxes. Why? When he opened a matchbox, the scorpion came on his hand and he was so scared that something like that might happen again. So every time he opened a matchbox, he opened it with great caution, with great fear, and he always had a handkerchief tied around his hand. Right. At the same time, Lucrezia, the one who Roger the dog bit, right, she was walking around with huge bandages around her ankle because the dog bit her there, right? Right, and she would always take off the bandages and show how it was healing, how the scabs were doing. Do you know what are scabs? You know when you get a cut on your hand and you get the brown scab on it? Right, so that is the hard, dry covering to heal the wound. So she would show the scabs to all the children as it was healing. Right, I usually like to pick my scabs. Do you? Right, but you shouldn't do that, it leaves scars. Right. But the worst of all of this, it wasn't Larry's fear of matchboxes, it wasn't Lorenzia's scars and scabs. It was the fact the little boy's mother thought he was being a little wild and that he needed more education. Right? So he was like, my mother's going to be very strict with me now, isn't she? Right? So, that was the end of the story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to share a small animated video to help with your imagination, right, of what happened, and it'll show everything that has gone on, right? But I'm going to ask you a few questions, right, and I want you guys to answer them. Who was the main character? Who was the narrator of the story? Who was narrating the whole story to us? Any guesses? I'm going to leave that to your thoughts. Second question, right? Who was your favorite character in this whole story? Who do you think you would have acted like if that happened to you? Right? I want to know. Okay, so I hope you guys read the whole story. I want you guys to practice reading the whole story. Okay, and read the meanings, and whatever words you don't know, you can underline and ask your teacher, or you can look it up on your parents' phone. Right? I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. Thank you.